Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy, the Road Dog, here with none other than the man, the myth, the 4.5-foot legend, number 22 in your program, but as he likes to say, number one in your heart.
There you go.
Dr. Karl Bryan.
There you
Welcome
go.
back.
It's not a doctor. How are you, buddy? What's going on? You are straight back from none other than one Las Vegas.
Indeed,
Inquiring minds want to know, did they lose your luggage and did you make it home? There you go.
I did make it home. Every single flight was delayed. And yes, I did not see my luggage after I checked it in to go to Vegas. Yet to be found. So absolutely amazing how it's probably sitting in Calgary somewhere. I don't know, dude. I'm beyond words with how this is all happening. Yeah. Anyways, there you go.
The world is broken, shoots. Nobody wants to work. Those airport security. I was going through whatever you call it, security and whatnot, and it was just like, there's no staff. Like, it was not going to happen anytime quickly. Had a connecting flight. Everybody, behind me's moaning. Everybody in front of me's moaning. I'm probably doing a bit of moaning. And it's just like, let it go, because there's no one there working. So it's not the person, I tell you, the wrong person to moan at is the poor bugger that's there working at 11 o'clock at night. So there you go. All
so
good.
let me ask you this, Shoots, because it hit me over the head like a shovel yesterday of, if you could help your clients in some form of automation, right?
Yeah.
Because I just think that this labor shortage and everything else, I don't think it's going away overnight. And I kind of feel we're in for a couple of years of horrific customer service, no matter where you go and what you do.
Yeah.
But do you think helping your clients automate and becoming more efficient, like, that's got to be a thing, no?
Well, for sure. But I'll tell you also, but just retaining staff, right? Like in my company, and I don't want to, we don't have a problem with staff in any way, shape, or form. But again, there's 4 things that motivate people: rank, recognition, prizes, money. We've talked about this on different podcasts in the past, right? So automation, without doubt, it's like robots are coming, artificial intelligence is coming, driverless cars are coming. So without doubt, automation it's coming anyways, right? Without the great resignation. But I do think that in a more realistic and small business centric way, I would be going and helping clients, recruit that staff, but then also, what is show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcomes. That's Charlie Munger. You got to really incentivize your staff. You got to keep them around. Alan Olshin, he's worked for me for 10 years. Chris Kling, I think it's 8 or 9 years. Craig McLean's been my CTO for, I'm going to say 13, 14 years. And I'm not, but at the end of the day, you got to work really, 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 really hard to make sure that staff are feeling a part of the company, the culture. You're building a bit of a community within a community, right, with your staff. And if you're listening to this and then going, okay, yeah, that's a good idea and that makes sense, how do I do it? 4 things to motivate people: rank, or 4 ways to motivate staff: rank, recognition, prizes, money. When I say prizes, think competition, by the way. But money is 4th by design, not by accident. And of course it's important, but people don't stay for money. People stay for, culture and a purpose and feeling like they're working towards something and learning and having fun. Anyway, so without getting all, but that's, what I mean? Like, that's where we got to really focus, I think, small businesses, that They got an automation for sure, Road Dog. Things like CRM as an example come to mind. Obvious, but the chiropractor is doing it horrifically. The dentist is doing it horrifically. So helping them with those types of things, absolutely. So that's
Yeah,
what
for me, it's just thinking of just in general, right? Like right now, that's obviously got to be top of mind for anybody in a business, right? Is just how
yeah,
do I how do I get staff? How do I retain staff? And it's just if you can go in, I think as a business coach right now and be like, look, I can help you with those two things, and I can help you become more efficient with what you have already.
yeah,
I just think that that's going to be a lights out conversation for any coach going in right now because you know what? People will only tolerate poor service for so long because people are fickle, man. And I know I am. Like right now with WestJet, they're not on a pleasant list for me. I will likely not use them again for a long, long time, just because. Like yesterday, I got home. I had to wait an hour before a single employee made it back to the non-security side of the airport, so I could actually speak to somebody. Like it's absolutely horrific, and an organization as large as that, and this is me being fickle and perhaps jaded and bitter, but when you have a company that's that big,
yeah.
you should have been on top of this. Like the fact that they couldn't see that coming, and yet Air Canada has staff everywhere right now. I'm sorry, what? Air Canada is supposed to be the bad guy, right? Like WestJet was supposed to be the fun underdog, and all of a sudden, what's happening? Like, how did that role reversal happen? It was crazy. Like,
Yeah.
anyways, there you go, dude. Anyways, enough about. I think you can sense my bitterness just a little too much there. But there you go, Shoots. Anyways, do you want to dive into this? Because
I
no one cares about my. If anyone see my luggage, by the way, sees my
yeah,
bag,
I was
just feel
gonna
free to
say there's
shoot me an email. That'd be fantastic.
it's pink.
Um,
It's pink with purple flowers, folks. So if you see it,
yeah. Well, I thanks for lending me your suitcase. You know,
I go.
fantastic. So, anyways, on that note,
You-
um, boy, oh boy, we could take this a million different directions, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Question I was going to ask on the last show, we didn't have time, and it's interesting to me because the question is, what does it take to build a seven-figure coaching business? And the reason I say it's interesting is because that's a kind of a rare question because most people, Carl, wouldn't you agree? Like typically it was like, I just want to make 100 grand. So
yeah,
I think this person's obviously elevated thinking. So bravo, right? High five to you. But so I think it's a fantastic question. I wanted to bring it to you because we don't really get that as much as I think we should. So let's kick
thinking
that
big.
off. What does it take to build a seven-figure coaching business?
There you go. I agree with that. By the way, I think we actually said again recently, but it's not the size of your brain; it's the size of your thinking. That you know what I mean. If you put me in a 7, 8, 9 figure room, it's just some people are thinking bigger than that. That's the difference. And of course, there are some very tactical, like step by step. You know what I mean. You don't just want to build a 9 figure business and then magically do it. That would be stupid to say. But the level of thinking's got to be there. So two things. One, belief, right? The obvious, you need to believe that you can do it. But here's the thing, like belief is not binary, right? Like it's not a yes, no, it's not this or that. It's, how much do you believe? Right? Oh yeah, I can really get the 7 figures, but you can almost hear in the language and the tonality that this person is kind of dreaming. You know what I mean? Like, at what level do you believe? Like, is this something like, and then if I look at your habits and I look at more to the point, your sacrifices, like someone's like, oh, I'm just not a morning person. Yeah, okay. But in order to build a 7 figure business coaching company, and I'll assume, remember, you're the plane, right? Good metaphor here for our, the Road Dogs Vegas trip. Like the plane was on the ground, and in order to get it up, takes an enormous amount of effort and fuel and whatever, right? But once it's up in the air, anybody could, for the most part, could fly it. Maybe not just anybody, but you know what I mean? Like, so where plane is down, so like, to what level do you believe? Well, you're going to have to sacrifice, right? So you might have to wake up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., depending upon your temperature, right? And like, for a period of time, not forever, right? But you got to get that plane up to 10,000 feet so that it can be flown easily. So anyway, the level, it's not just, do you believe you can hit seven figures? Because that's too painfully obvious. It's at what level. And then if you want to know what level, if I look at your level of sacrifice, that's going to give me a good idea as to whether or not you're going to get there, right? The other thing, if you want to hit seven figures, I always train, there's three baskets to building a coaching company. There's lead gen, there's conversion, and then there's fulfillment. And most people, without an enormous amount of experience, always think lead gen. They think building a seven-figure coaching company would be about lead gen. And I can tell you that by a million miles, that's the one that you can systematize. That's not the hard one. The reason you won't hit seven figures after hitting six is that you'll get caught up in basket number three, which is fulfillment. That's what takes you all the time, right? So if you it's like, if you lead gen, think time, conversion, think expertise, and then fulfillment, think, that's the time one, right? Like the fulfillment takes all the time, which is what takes you away, so you can't do one and two, right? So bottom line, thinking of those three baskets, you're gonna have to have a plan. And then the way you do it, like group coach, we built group coaching software for that exact reason. We've got lots of really successful coaches. They hit six figures, they hit multiple six figures, and the automatic question, when we speak to them, it's like, how am I going to get this thing to seven figures? I'm maxed. And I don't see a way clear. Like they see this, what I refer to as a glass ceiling. A glass ceiling is one that you can see through but can't get through, right? So group coaching is a way to go from 6 to 7 figures. And again, that falls into basket number three. So anywho, to accomplish seven figures, you'd basically fall into what I'd probably call the 2% coaching club. And there's a reason that 98% aren't welcome or don't make it. And that's, again, the level of sacrifice, right? Like the truth is you're probably not ready. So accepting that as reality is probably going to be a good thing, right? So, growth is going to be required. And again, growth looking a lot like sacrifice. Like, are you willing to wake up at 5 a.m. every single morning? And then are you able to wake up at 5 a.m. without an alarm clock? Right? Because again, it's not the alarm clock that's waking you up. If you're going to hit seven figures and then continue to grow, it's kind of that push-pull thing, Road Dog, right? Like you're pulling, if you're pushing on a rope, how successful is that? You want to be pulling on a rope, right? Like in other words, you wake up at 5 a.m., automatically. You know what I mean? So Road Dog, I had a 7 steps to 7 figures is something, again, that I, have gone over, many, many times in the past. And it's just real simple. If I were to break those down, one is mindset. You got to create the mindset that you're worthy of 7 figures. But like I said earlier, it's belief, but on what level do you believe, right? Got to go really, really deep. And then have you believed that for 10 minutes, or have you believed that for a year? Have you believed that for 10 years? You know what I mean? Like, and hopefully 10 years is probably too long, but 2 weeks probably isn't long enough. Where, you really got to build up that intestinal fortitude, that inner strength, actually become worth 7 figures. Okay. So that's like, based on the value in between your ears, are you really there? That's again where, belief not being binary. When somebody tells me they want to make 7 figures, but I can often hear like in their voice and the tonality and the volume of the way they say it, you know what I mean? And compared to, the voice inflection compared to the way they say other stuff, like they really feel like they're there. They have a roadmap, again, like a plan rather than a goal. A goal is great. That'll get you there. That'll get you started. Sorry. Right. But if you tell me you want to make 7 figures, and then I often say this, right? Like I'll go play dumb and like, hey, what is that per month? I can't remember. Right. And again, they very seldom have an answer, and it's $83,333, $83,333 a month, right? If they haven't taken the time to, acknowledge that and then reverse engineer what that would look like and how many clients that would be at their current run rate, not quite ready, right? Like that binary, they're probably not, really, and the level of belief is probably not, they're to the level that it needs to. Like you gotta, what's the, it's like, so I'm thinking of Grant Cardone. He says that, there's a phone call. Let me get that road done. Enough people. What does he say? Like his competition is obscurity. And again, you might love Grant Cardone and you might hate Grant Cardone. Completely irrelevant, right? The guy's a billionaire, probably doing something right, probably doing some things wrong, and that's is what it is, right? So are we. So am I. So is Road Dogg, no doubt, right? But um, Grant Cardone says that his competition is obscurity. It's like someone who doesn't know who they are. So like having enough people know that you exist. It's like, what's that saying in marketing? It's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's categorically incorrect. It's who knows you, right? So again, they say it's not what you know, it's who you know. That is not true. Or certainly, again, maybe in a non-binary way, it's not at the level. What's a million times more important, in my opinion, and feel free to disagree, but you want to hit seven figures, I encourage you to think this: who knows you? Who knows your dentist? Who knows your landscaping client? Who knows your chiropractic client? Who knows your personal training client? We were talking about in the pre-show, right? So anyway, so that's number 4. You need to be worthy based on work ethic. Very, very. So there's value, and then there's work ethic. Okay, two different things. I guess maybe this falls into the sacrifice, and are you waking up at 5 a.m.? And then at what level? If you wake up at 5 a.m. and it's like, oh my gosh, and you need to have 6 cups of coffee and you got toothpicks in your eyes, probably a pretty good chance that tomorrow or next week you're not doing it. So again, are you looking after your body? Are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you looking at things like weighted blankets and actually, working out how you can get a better night's sleep? So when you wake up at 5 a.m., you're actually ready to rock and roll, right? You don't need that. Coffee's great, but the problem is I've never had a cup of coffee in my life, by the way, but multiple cups of coffee, I know it's going to happen, right? Like that's a caffeine high. And what happens on the other end of a high? You come down. Is that good for going from multiple 6 to 7 figures? I'll let you decide, but the answer is obvious, right? Another one, Road Dogg, that we talked about, and it's like, I love this, like distance. You've got to be comfortable losing people close to you, right? So the example that I give, like if I'm playing hockey and my buddies are there, my family's there, or whatever, they're in row 3 and I'm on the rink playing. We're only, or I'm in the stands and then they're playing, right? Well, there's only 5 feet of distance between us, right? They can see us in the box and they can see us on the rink, but when you're playing and they're watching, there's the distance between those two is incredible. When I'm on stage and I'm speaking and then you're in the room listening and you're turned one way and I'm turned the other, we're only, 1, 3, 5, 10, 20 feet apart, but there's a lifetime of distance between the two of you, right? Like when you go see Tony Robbins, you're in the same room, but I mean, there's enormous amount of distance between you and him. Well, that's great. The problem is there's a lot of people, like there's a lot of athletes, like, every professional athlete has got a hometown of people that were, better and faster and stronger and whatever, had more potential than, XYZ, like Michael Jordan. But Michael Jordan's the one who made it. What happens a lot of the time is the guys, they excel, and that distance makes them uncomfortable. They start to lose people who are close to them. They're not thinking of this cognitively. Like they're not, this isn't on a conscious level. This is on a subconscious level. They start feeling that distance and they want to come back to them. Or maybe more to the point, those people start making them feel guilty, right? And then take love away. One of your 2 greatest fears in the world is losing love. They take that love away. And then what do? You start drinking, you start the drugs, you stop waking up at 5 a.m. and dribbling the basketball, you stop going to training, you self-sabotage, right? So anyway, so distance, I can't begin to tell you how important that one is. Your clients, help them with that. And by the way, I think, and if you like that, which I do, this is really a really powerful thing to be talking about your clients with, because like they're going to be like, they're probably not there right now, but you explain that with the relationship with you, that they're going to go to new heights. And this is something that they're going to experience and you want to ready them for it. I want you to think about that on a subconscious level. You're really framing your client to go, wow, my coach and I are about to go to significantly new heights. So that can be really good for your relationship, because all of a sudden they start believing in you at a higher level, because they're like, wow, I've never thought about it like that, like that. And that's absolutely something that can happen. Or that absolutely happened to me in the past. And, thank you for explaining that in very step by step. This is what's happening. And now I can be, cognizant of it. I can be wary of it, make sure it doesn't happen again. So that's self-sabotage in a nutshell. And then 7, was like overthinking, like you gotta, getting congruent with a 7-figure mindset dictates that you gotta stop overthinking. Maybe again, thinking of, the distance thing, how that would eat at you. I love, like the Ted Lasso show, right? He says you need to have a goldfish memory with basically 7 seconds, and then you move on, you forget everything. You overthinking. If you introduce me to a perfectionist, I'll introduce you to somebody who's not ever going to accomplish a whole heck of a lot. Right? It's impossible, not going to happen. So overthinking, it's an enemy of success. So Road Dog, real simple. So those are some thoughts. What do you think, bud? That's what I think
Well,
you got to do to get yourself.
Yeah, I remember a while back you were going over things. Was it you said it was like things you need for 7 figures? Like you did that a while back, and I think some of those were, if I remember correctly, what was it now? Network, leverage, and productivity. I think that's it. And I'm guessing those are correlated here.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, I remember. Yeah, nice one. High five, bud. Probably should have. So, yeah, those ones. So 7 things you need to go to 7 figures. What are their status, value, visibility, leverage. Where am I at here? That's 4. Productivity, abilities to overcome obstacles, which is different than abilities, but like, problem solving. And then the 7th was network. So look, real quick, 7-figure value. I kind of went over that a minute ago, but you gotta, like, can you actually help your clients? Like, sounds painfully obvious, but like once you get past goal setting and time management, are you going to actually be able to, really help them take new heights? Like, are you worthy of, earning 7 figures, right? Status. So like status, I just can't, like, it again in between not only in between your ears, but externally as well. But I think the two have to come together. Like if I look at your Facebook profile, or I look at your Instagram profile, or I look at your social media, maybe it's, you're more LinkedIn guy or gal. If I spend about 5 minutes on it, it's going to tell me an enormous amount about where you're at, right? In terms of hitting 7 figures. So like if you're like dropping Trojan horse style posts, sell, Mortimer, you're on one level, right? If you're there educating other people in your industry, there's a certain level that you're at, or a certain profile or status that you're bringing across. And then if you're like helping, your prospective clients, the chiropractor, the dentist, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, like that, again, there's like, if I look at your social media profile, like, what am I going to see there? And by the way, and that's not to say that you gotta, but you go to my social media profile, you're going to see a whole lot of nothing last while, which good, bad, and different, don't know. But if you scroll down, you're going to see, once in a while, I'm dropping here's just something that I would encourage you guys to be thinking about. Right. But what you're really going to see is a picture of my daughter and I, and, my dad and I, and I actually took a photo of my dad. I was in Puerto Vallarta with my dad, and he's got a couple of girlfriends going on. Kind of, he teases himself, but whatever. So him and his harem. But so the bottom line is, like, when I go to your Facebook pro, like 7-figure status, hopefully that's obvious, but like on what level are you operating at? Maybe that fake it till you make it falls in, right? Visibility, again, obscurity, maybe falling into what I talked about a minute ago, but these are slightly different. The bottom line is, like, if I go to your Facebook profile, I just said, like, I'm doing a horrific job. If I was using Facebook to promote my business, I'd be in all kinds of strife right now, or my personal profile, right? 7-figure visibility, right? Like, are you, but I will but I get 100, like, I do a daily email, 100,000 people get that email every single day. So that would be an example of me doing it there. I'm not using my personal Facebook page to grow, right? It's just not what I'm doing. It's just not what I'm doing. Should you? That's up to you. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if you're not, and you want to hit seven figures, if you can't show me your seven figure visibility, then you're not ready for seven figures, debatably, right? Seven figure leverage. Um, like, how do you approach the accountant, right? Are you going to the accountant and giving him the amazing idea that if he sends you clients, you're going to give him a percentage of the revenue, right? And just little pro tip, that's not going to work. They might tell you how enthusiastic they are, but they're just not messaging you back. You go to the accountant and then think to yourself, what are the three biggest problems that he currently faces or she currently faces? And then you solve that problem for them. And as an example, I can tell you this, wrote a book, accounting, or co-wrote a book, Accounting 101 for Business Coaches. The problem that the accountant has is that clients come to see them three times, once a year at the end of the year. You've heard of tax season. They're so busy for 3 months of the year, they can't get home to have lunch. If you solved that problem for them, that might help. So what you do is you say to the accountant, send me a few clients and I will make sure that they come to see you, 10 to 12 times a year, so that they'll never participate in that tax season. And then you will have their attention. You're solving a problem that the accountant has. If I were to go to a magazine operator, how does a magazine make money? They sell advertising, right? I would help them sell more advertising, like introduce me to three of your clients, tell me how much they're spending per year on their ads, and I will work to double it. I'm not magic and I can't guarantee that, but I can tell you that will be part of my undertaking, because I personally believe that advertising advertising the profit is a superpower, which, by the way, I personally believe. That's what I've experienced. You should think, like, everybody hates advertising until they need to sell their own car, right? That's literally a sign that's in our business coaching mastery event in Cancun. So advertising, so help them solve their magazine advertising issues of people buying ads and then canceling them, and they can never get them to advertise again, right? Versus just give them a percentage of anybody that sends to them, right? How do you approach, the local incubator? What kind of testimonials do you got? Are you collecting testimonials? Do you feel comfortable collecting testimonials and other pieces of social proof? Show me how many referrals you get. How comfortable are you asking for a referral? When are you asking for a referral? Like, are you asking for a referral on, the first meeting, on the third call, or something like strategic? Or are you waiting for an inflection point, like they hit a home run and then you ask for a referral at that point? And that's the best time to ask for a referral, right? When they hit a home run. But how many referrals are you getting? Do you have a growth loop within your business? And if you don't, if your client doesn't, maybe you're not ready. If you're not helping your client do these things that I'm describing, you might not be ready for the big time. You might not be ready for seven figures, right? Anyway, so you approach the digital marketer, you approach the podcast host. Like, I get asked, we don't do interviews, right, on this, like on our podcast, right? Just, I get asked about doing interviews and being interviewed, which I don't do interviews, and I don't want to be interviewed, and I don't want to interview here, right? Just a personal preference, it's just whatever. But like, the way that I get asked is what I'm saying. Some folks are just completely out to lunch, right? Just not going to happen. Anyway, so hopefully you're seeing that. Just videos and Facebook, like the way that you're positioning yourself. So basically, seven figure leverage, how many joint venture partners do you have? How many referrals do you have? And then I'm going to tell you again, your trajectory towards seven figures. Productivity is another one. The secret to cleaning the sink is to only clean the damn sink when you're cleaning the sink. You know what I mean? Like, walking and chewing. And by the way, women do this better than men. So maybe I should maybe answer this two-part. But, generally speaking, the secret to productivity is to really dial in and be present. Are you doing that? Like, when you're doing something, are you just bloody doing it? And then there's the ability to overcome obstacles, solve problems, right? Both imagined and unimagined. The worst ones are always the imagined ones. Like as an example, imposter syndrome is something that happens when you're trying to go from 6 to 7 figures. Imposter syndrome is something you got to fight. Are you willing to push through? I got it. Road Dogs had it. Are you, imposter syndrome? You just going to keep bloody going, or are you going to let it worry you? Right. And the trick, obviously, is to keep pounding. Just keep going. Um, yeah. Anyways, imposter syndrome is very real and something that should be. But if you're seeing it as an obstacle, again, you might not be ready for the big time. You just got to run over the top. You got to concentrate on, your mission, your vision, what you're there to accomplish. And by the way, maybe you don't even have that, by the way, like that vision. 7-figure network. By the way, guys, I just got over COVID working on my hat trick here. Um, so if I am coughing today, that's the reason why. 7-figure network. Just who are you networking with? Who are you attempting to network with? Who do you feel worthy networking with? Like Road Dog and I, again, we've talked about, like, if you're going to do it at local event, do it at, do you feel comfortable booking at the yacht club? Do you feel comfortable going to the local hotel, going to the penthouse? I'm talking kick butt hotel locally, and, renting the penthouse for the night and doing your event there. Does that feel like something that juices you, or is that something that goes, oh, like I'm not quite ready for it? Just be honest with yourself. It's fine. But if you hear that and you're like, oh, and if you immediately go, oh my gosh, how much is that going to cost me? Right? Like that, it's not completely irrelevant. Right? What you got to do is you got to make sure that you make that much more as a result. And there is no way that the penthouse of the local Hyatt or whatever can be that expensive for one night. And maybe, by the way, you don't even need it for a night. You only need it for a few hours, right? Just that should be something. If you immediately go to cost, that might be, again, that's in between your ears. It's just a matter of getting the right people in that room. And would that elevate your status? And by the way, would it do it both externally and then internally, as in do it for them, as in the accountant and the magazine and the digital marketer and the online directory and the podcast host when you invite them there? And then would it do it in between your ears where suddenly you become worthy because you're the guy or gal speaking at the penthouse? I used to do it at a place called the Palliser. That was like in Calgary, the #1 hotel. Rented the penthouse of the Palliser. Bingo, bango, bongo. And it worked. It worked magic. I got to tell you, it worked magic. Maybe that's one for you guys. But if you want to hit 7 figures, this is the level of thinking. So the way I got there, 7-figure network. Who are you networking with? If you're doing your presentations at Humpty Dumpty to save yourself $50, you're not ready for 7 figures. I don't think. Maybe I could be wrong. Anyway, so I just think systematically, if you were to kind of rip through those and work through them in between your ears, this is how you get the 7 figures, and this is the way I kind of always taught it. And I will tell you a solution. If you're listening to this and you're like, sign me up, this is what I want. I got to tell you, I've dropped, mentioned this in the past, but I'll continue to mention it in the future. But live event mastery. If I'm a coach out there and I want to hit legit, 0 to 6, hit multiple 6 figures, hit 7 figures, I'm doing our program, live event mastery, which means I'm putting 4 to 10 people on, call it a Tuesday, around a breakfast boardroom table where they're eating. I'm doing my dog and pony show. And when I say dog and pony show, whether they buy from me or not, I change their freaking life, right? Like I just drop my best stuff so that when they leave, they're like, wow, that was a worthy, because they may not be paying for it. They may or may not, you might charge them. We encourage you not, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you put bums on seats. But it's their time that they're spending with you, and you need to respect that at the highest level, right? So anyways, that tends to look after all these things. But the mistake that people make, you say to me, oh my gosh, sign me up for live event mastery. What could possibly go wrong? Here's what goes wrong. Is you're not committed. You don't go all in, right? Like, so I always say, if you're going to do live events, you got to book 10 of them. You got to do 10 of them. And what most people do is they do one and then report back and tell us how it went. They do 2 and then decide if they're going to do a third, right? That attitude, forget it. You got to do 10. Why? Just you double a penny every day. What do you get on day 30, right? The answer is 5 million plus. That's the reason. On your 10th event, it's like doubling a penny, doubling a penny, doubling a penny, doubling a penny. On day 10, you get this compounding effect of respect and status, and you get better. Your ability to tell jokes gets better. Your ability to tell stories gets better. Your conversions are better. The attendees are better. The people that are running the events or own the chamber or like, the people in and around you all of a sudden take you seriously, right? Like the joint venture, you're going to get joint venture partners there. And that's going to lead to them then wanting to do an event in their boardroom. But bottom line, I've talked about it lots in the past, live event mastery. Just, and forget live event mastery if you're not a client of ours. Just do a local live event consistently and then just watch what happens. But you got to do a number of them. Don't do two and then decide if you're going to continue or you kind of already failed, right? Just okay, Road, like the highest leverage position, right? I talked about leverage in there, and like the highest leverage position that you, or frankly any business owner, including Road Dog, including myself, Ford, Pepsi, Elon Musk, it's getting in front of ideal clients, right? Like getting clients out in what I'll call the wild can be a treacherous undertaking. So think of this, like if you go to someone's list and they get 50 people to show up to your webinar, your live event, or get on the phone with you, right? And then you get 2 clients, which would have to be semi-horrific results, right? But you got 2 clients and they put 50 in front of you. That can be better than getting, say, 10 clients out in quote unquote the wild, right? The wild being, cold Facebook messages, cold networking groups, and not to mention it's 100 times more expensive and difficult to do, right? So framed differently, if I get 100 clients from out in the wild, there will be approximately 70 to 80 that I wish had bought from someone else, right? So like, if I bring it back to a sentence, not all clients are created equal, right? So if you agree with that, and I hope you do, because I think I'm right, the solution to that is to learn how to get really good at working out who has your ideal clients, right? Like if someone has an active accountant or working with an accountant, it's fair to say that they have a legit business and would easily be able to pay you to become their coach consultant, right? Whereas the financial planner or the insurance guy or the realtor showing up to the local networking group, probably not so much. Maybe, by the way, but not so much. But the accountant's clients, surely you could see how that's a home run. Or if somebody's advertising, I said earlier, right? Like they're spending money with a digital marketing agency, or they've got, their sign up on the billboard that to cost. Like they get a sign on the billboard. My question to you is, do you know how much that costs? And the answer is probably no. And then I'm going to say you might not be ready for the big time, because I would want to know how much they're spending on that billboard. Because if they're spending 1,000, 5,000 in, depending upon where it's at, it could be 10,000, right? Well, I want to know that, right? Because what does that tell me? It tells me that if they're willing to spend $5,000 for that piddly little billboard, surely they would be willing to spend $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year for some really good advice from you, right? Is that like, wouldn't you see how that's like an A grade, awesome, client / prospect? And then, by the way, I would ask myself the next question, which is, who sold them that ad to get on the billboard? And then I would want to build a relationship with that individual, right? So anyway, an X factor of this, Road Dog, any audience you get in front of is basically like they're ranking you, right? Our society is totally addicted to comparison, right? Like your prospects are pegging you on a list relative to your industry at the time, like as in other business coaches or consultants. And depending upon the level you operate, right? Maybe it's local, national, or maybe international level, this is what they're going to be like questioning, right? So if you like, what about you as a business coach? When I say somebody's spending $2,000 a month to be on that billboard, what's your temperature like when I say, why don't you spend $2,000 a month to get on that billboard? And I'm not saying you should, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I am saying that you should consider it. If you're doing local live events and you're the heavyweight speaker, the realtor is doing it. It might not be a bad idea for you, right? And by the way, it might be a horrific idea, but I got to tell you, would that make the accountant take you a little bit more seriously when they've been looking at your photo? Talking about your live events at the Chamber of Commerce, the last, 30 days in a row going to and from work. And they're like, oh, wow, that's you, right? And then they recognize you because your smiley picture is on it. It works for realtors. It could work for you, right? But the bottom line is, like, in a comparison between you and the competition, if you were spending $2,000 a month on that billboard, do you think that accountant might elevate you in terms of status, therefore take you more seriously, therefore help you get that joint venture done or get that local event done in his boardroom easier, right? And I would dare say yes. Best use of $2,000 a month, I don't know, but should be thought about, right? But no matter how far you climb, I got to tell you, like high school behavior happens, like comparison, and it's social media with likes and comments and, being compared to other people in your space, right? Even think of like the sexiest man alive or the sexiest woman alive, right? Like when you see them, you immediately go, oh, but, you know what I mean? Like somebody else would have been better looking. Somebody else is sexier. Somebody else is whatever. You know what I mean? Like you just automatically compare. Like they picked that person is pretty much the first question that would go through your mind, and that's you going through an automatic, um, like response of comparison. Or it's like LeBron. He's so good, it's insane. Let's face it, right? But he's constantly compared to who? Jordan, right? You think of Kobe. Who was he constantly compared to? Jordan, right? And it happens to Elon, like Elon Musk right now, who, by the way, I said that Twitter thing I thought was going to come and bite him firmly on the backside. And now all of a sudden, all of these affairs and all of these children, and you know what, Elon, he may have, I don't know. Let's see what's going to happen. Very, very smart guy. He's going to be ridiculously successful no matter what, but I think he's getting a little bit of treatment that he is not used to, where he used to be the golden child and could do anything. And that's kind of turning on him from what, as I speak here, it's kind of turned a little bit. So, but it all comes back to our addiction to, our addiction of comparison, we call it. So Road Dog, yeah, that's, yeah, the, status, value, visibility, leverage, productivity, network, and the ability to problem solve or overcome obstacles. So those are those needs shoots, and yeah, super important for somebody that wants to, really knock it out of the park. So how was that, shoots?
Can we next week go into, because I'm curious how you can use that addiction of comparison to your advantage. Can we dive into that on the next show?
Yeah, sure.
I know we're up against the clock here now, but I just think that's just it's a really, because I know we've had conversations about some of this stuff in the past, and I know you've got some really good thoughts on that, and I just think it'd be a really good one to dive into. So tune into that next week, folks. But if you were to take something from, like, what's the one thing, Shoots, like from this episode, if someone was to take one thing and implement it into their business, what would that be?
What would that be? I think the obvious one, Road Dog. I think like pretty much spent the entire episode, by the way. But like becoming a 7-figure coach, like it sounds so platitudinal and so like obvious, right? But you got to do it in between your ears before you're going to do it. You know what I mean? In reality, and I think that's obvious. But then I think kind of dissecting that and like going, okay, well, what does that actually mean? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like 7-figure status, like do you have it? Do you feel like you deserve it? Are you willing to put that out there? You know what I mean? 7-figure value. Like, do you legitimately, on the pre-show, right? Somebody asked, Carl, could you remember starting again? What would you do? Any advice? Yeti, 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 right? And I said, look, give me a client, granular. Give me a client that you would like to help, right? And if you can't think of what that is, think passion, think expertise, think experience, right? And then I think we came up with a personal trainer. And then I said, here's the homework. Tonight, write down 50 ways you could help a personal trainer and legitimately help a personal trainer. Little pro tip, by the way, if you wanted to help a personal trainer, all they got to do is like every Monday, they got to do a free event, right? At the local park or somewhere cool. And it's a freebie that anybody can come, and they can makes it really easy for people to refer people to you. Just said something really important. How easy it is to refer people to you, right? If you have a free event going on, and all they got to do is that, and then their job is they need to be salesperson because they need to elevate their confidence in themselves. So when somebody, a freebie, comes to their Monday, Tuesday night freebie personal training class, they got to turn them into a personal training client. That's it, and then they got to sell them supplements and they got to sell them other stuff, right? But anyway, so like write down 50 ways to help a personal trainer, right? Legitimately, right? And basically, the following day, my opinion is that you are going to be so excited and so pumped to get in front of personal trainers, because you're going to be looking at this list of 50 ways to help them. And you're going to be like, I think every one of these 50 ways could actually help a personal trainer. And like if I helped a personal trainer for 90 days and we accomplished 6 of these 50, I couldn't even imagine the difference that it could make, right? And then like, so all of a sudden your reticular activating system will kick in and you'll start, personal trainers will start falling out of the sky. You'll be driving and you'll see somebody in a, somebody in a park training a bunch of people, and then you'll see the billboard, you'll see the ad online. You'll speak to an accountant and say, hey, do you know a personal trainer? You speak to the banker and say, do you know a personal trainer? And then you speak to a friend and do you know a personal trainer? And then you'll start doing some homework locally to find personal trainers, and you will suddenly have yourself the list of 50 personal trainers who you could help. And now you just got to get in front of them and find a way, and surely you could convert. If you got a list of 50 and you're horrific at sales and horrific at coaching and horrific at closing and everything and networking and everything, surely you could get 1, 2, or 3 of them to part with some money for you to basically be able to take these, to beta test these 50 ways to help them. So anyways, you know what I mean? Like, it's got to happen inside your ears. And I think that that's a really granular way to take one foot in front of the other, right? But that would, I think, so that's 7-figure value, right? And then visibility. How are you? Again, if I look at your social media profiles, what am I going to see? If I look at your LinkedIn, what am I going to see? And the answer is probably not a lot. And then my question is that a good idea? Is that going to help you accomplish your goals? And then you're like, yeah, but what am I going to post? And I don't want to look like an idiot. And then I would go, well, we got to go back to number one, the status thing, like how, like you're not quite there. You know what I mean? So you're not ready for visibility because you're in between your ears. You're not there, right? And then once you get there, and the next one was what was it? Leverage, right? Like, again, because now you're speaking to the accountants, you're speaking to the magazines, you're speaking to the incubators, you're collecting testimonials, right? And powerful case studies. Well, now your leverage is going to go up, right? Because you're going to be more willing. Like, it's one thing to know the accountant, speak to the accountant. It's a whole nother planet to get the accountant to do what you ask them to do, right? Well, if you don't feel worthy and in between your ears, you're not totally comfortable, you deserve that, it's not going to happen, right? And then there's productivity. So what happens when the accountant, here's again, remember, we started with basket number 3, fulfillment. What happens when the accountant refers the personal trainer to you, right? Are you going to allow for that, oh, the bloody personal trainer doesn't do anything? Are you going to let that happen? Or are you going to be ruthless and dogmatic that, much like when your kid didn't want to brush their teeth? It wasn't like, again, my daughter doesn't want to brush her teeth. Sometimes it's a game. Sometimes it's demanding. Sometimes I'm taking something away. It's like it's a non-bloody negotiable whether or not she brushes her teeth. It's a matter of how she's going to brush, how we're going to go about it doing it tonight, right? And of course, she's at the age now where that's not so challenging, but you get the idea, right? But with your client, how many coaches do we know, Road Dog, that always say, oh, these bloody clients never do anything? And then what they tell you is that they're overwhelmed, right? Well, they're not overwhelmed, right? Like, again, you got a list of, if they have a list of 10 things to do, which frankly, it's more like 30, giving them 2 extra things to do is not a good idea. Go to that list. Remember, a real mentor can tell you what not to do. One of the first things that I would do with that personal trainer is I would assess their daily to do, and I'd start taking things out, right? Anyway, so like, sort of, yeah, Rodo, you guys are listening. You kind of getting all of this, but when we say, are you worthy of 7 figures in between your ears? My question is, on a granular level, have you gone like real micro to go, okay, well, what does that actually mean? And I think I just gave you, status, value, visibility, leverage, productivity, problem solving, and then your network, right? Is like 7 areas you could go to and then assess your current activity, your past activity, and your future activity, and maybe your present, as in today, activity, to rank yourself and say, you know what, I'm not achieving my goals because I'm not actually, you know what I mean? I'm not worthy of them because I'm not doing these things. I got to start doing these things. And by the way, you could do all of those things, and here's the problem: you're not going to feel the effects today, tomorrow, next week, right? Like, again, you got to be thinking, you got to think further out. Like oh gosh, I had this back and forth with one of our clients, right? Great guy. And, and so, accomplished, great guy, done some very, very cool things in the past. But like, I'm telling you, this guy's in his own way, right? Like, you've got no stinking idea. It's just, it's more obstacle. You've got to, if for every problem, give me 3 solutions, Okay. Like I don't want to hear a list of 3 problems. I want to hear a list of 9 solutions. That would be a better idea. And we're all guilty of it, starting with me, right? And that, sometimes things are just challenging, but you gotta, you gotta make that look, just, you give me a problem, you got to give me 3 solutions to it. There's the rule, right? Was I said, but anyway, so there you go, Shoots. In between your ears. It's not, what you've done in the past and whatnot. It's just, you got to go out there, exercise value at the highest level. And that's it, Shoots. That's my one thing.
I didn't realize the one thing was like it just opened this Pandora's box to a rabbit hole. Some days, Shoots, it's easier for you to go down the rabbit hole than others, and today it's one of those days. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Listen, folks, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Rambling with Karl. Business Coaching Secrets with Karl. If you're not on the inside getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily, very clear and concise, the one thing emails, and by the way, with his upcoming career in comedy, you definitely need to get those emails, because we all need to know what's going on with, what was his name again? What's your character? What's the guy? Dangerous Dave? I haven't heard about Dangerous Dave in a while, but I need to know what's going on.
I actually, one of my good buddies, Nate Bailey, legend client, going to be in Cancun. He better be. Who want me to tell you today's? And he sent this to me, and he circled it in red pen and like a laughing emoji. What's the so I got COVID, right? So I'm like, my wife's coming in and out with the thermometer. I said there's only the only difference I can ascertain between a rectal thermometer and an oral thermometer is the taste.
There you go, folks. Do you see what you're missing out on by not subscribing? Go to focus.com and get your tickets for Karl's stay in Vegas. I'm sure that Planet Hollywood is going to be calling to have Karl be a regular performer. But anywho, until that happens, focus.com is where you can subscribe today. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast and hopefully weren't completely offended, please leave us a review if you like what you heard, and please feel free to share it with anyone that is a fellow business coach, or somebody you think that might make a great coach. And that is it for another week. I'm just trying to get that joke out of my head. There you go, folks. Remember, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.